In the racing world, for every legend that we see, there are more that have fallen out of fate's favor. There are those who have unfortunately been overshadowed by their contemporaries, and none embody this more than him. While Secretariat was making history, they were never far behind. The shadow of perfection. Sham. April 9th, 1970, at Claiborne Farm in Kentucky, Sham is born. Sham was sired by Pretense and Secretariat and was, by all accounts, a perfect racer, being born with a heart that was double the size of the average racehorse's heart at 18 pounds. By all accounts, Sham was destined for greatness, destined to become a Triple Crown champion, destined to go down in history as one of the greatest racehorses of all time. Unfortunately, Sham didn't have the greatest start to his career. His first 3 races were losses in 1972. It wasn't until December of 1972 where Sham would capture his first win before going into 1973 and starting his very first win streak. This consisted of 3 races, including Sham's first ever graded win with the Santa Catalina. Unfortunately, very little is actually written down about these races, and information is incredibly hard to find. All I could really find were the results, which unfortunately does kind of play into where Sham sits in the annals of history. Unfortunately, after this win streak, Sham would suffer a devastating 4th place finish at the San Philip. However, he would then make that up by winning his first ever G1 at the Santa Anita Derby. Following this win, Sham was entered into the Wood Memorial, where his rivalry with Secretariat really kicked off. There was a lot of back and forth regarding the 2 horses, with Sham's team very confident that Sham would beat out Secretariat. And in this Wood Memorial, Sham, by all accounts, did. Though he himself did not win the race, he still came in second, beating Secretariat. However, as we know from the previous video on these racers, we know that Secretariat only really lost because of the abscess in his mouth. After this race, it was on to the Triple Crown. Sham's team believed that there was no way in hell Sham was going to lose. He was capable of being a Triple Crown racer, and by all accounts they were right. Sham had everything going for him going into this. There was no doubt he would win, but as we know, fate is often cruel, as he happened to be born into the same era as the greatest racehorse to ever run. In the Kentucky Derby, Sham had an unfortunate mishap at the start, smashing his face into the gate, breaking his teeth, causing him to bleed profusely throughout the entire race, and yet still Sham came in second, setting the second fastest time in Kentucky Derby history, being one of only 3 racers to ever get a sub 2 minute on that race. But it still wasn't enough because he was up against Secretariat, and this monumental achievement that Sham had made, setting such a great time, was completely overshadowed. Then, of course, it was on to the Preakness Stakes, where they were still confident that Sham could win, but again, he was beaten out, and this time there were no mishaps at the starting gate. It was pure, raw ability, and Sham just couldn't keep up. Sham did everything that he could, raced his heart out, and yet still he fell short, and Secretariat claimed the second crown, while Sham set one of the fastest times in Preakness history. No longer the second fastest, but at the time, it was, though it wasn't officially recognized as that because the clock was broken. Regardless, at the time, it was the second fastest Preakness time, and still not enough. Then, of course, there was the historic Belmont Stakes of 1973, where Sham's misfortune struck yet again. Despite breaking cleanly and keeping up with Secretariat through most of the race, being dead even with him until the latter half, It was in that latter half that Sham unfortunately slowed and fell to last place in that race. The reason being not a lack of ability, but rather a fracture to his cannon bone, which led to that catastrophic drop in speed, leading to him unfortunately finishing dead last. The fact that he managed to finish the race at all is a testament to how resilient he was, showing that resilience in the Kentucky Derby as well, but unfortunately it just, again, wasn't enough. That last place finish was his last race, an unremarkable end for such an amazing racer. Following the Belmont Stakes, Sham would officially retire in July of 1973, living out the rest of his days peacefully. However, on April 3rd, 1993, Sham would unfortunately suffer a heart attack and pass away. On autopsy, it was revealed that Sham's heart weighed an astounding 18 pounds, double the size of the average racehorse's heart. Truly a testament to just how great Sham really was. Sham was, by all accounts, one of the best racers to ever grace the racetrack. It's just that he unfortunately raced against the greatest racer to ever run. And that really does sum up what Sham's career was. It was misfortunate. Such an amazing and powerful horse, just overshadowed. But he shouldn't be overshadowed. He should be remembered for what he was, and that was the rival to the greatest. Frankly, without Sham, Secretariat likely would have never set the times that he did in the Triple Crown. Those 50-year standing records likely would have never happened. Would Secretariat have lost? Probably not. But would he be nearly as impressive? I doubt it. And that's because Sham was what pushed him. Sham was the rival that Secretariat needed. Without him, Secretariat would not be as great as he is, and I firmly believe that. Sham is a racehorse that we should remember and look back on fondly for what he was truly capable of. Had he been born in any other generation, it is almost certain that he would have set records, that he would have won that Triple Crown. He just was born against Secretariat, but because of that, he pushed Secretariat to becoming the best that ever ran.